And I know I saw Jeff. Where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? Oh, there he is. All right. Spotlight.
Hi, you guys.
Nice to see you, Rosalie.
Hi,
Nice,
Rosalie. Hi, Ken.
nice to see you.
It's good to see you guys. Seeing that spring is so well on its way, and things in Manitoba are so warming up and becoming beautiful. Well, anyway, whatever. I won't say. But I thought we would start out by just some quick introductions from you folks. Let us know who you are and kind of some of the things we want to talk about tonight. And then we have a 7-minute video, and I'll share the screen and play that video, and then we'll come back to the announcements. So, Carla and Jack, do you want to start off?
We're very grateful that you're having us on your podcast tonight. We're interested in meeting everybody, and I'm the president of CO Silica. I'm Carla Devlin, and tonight we hope to provide accurate information and discuss our extraction method and provides just a clear oversight of the project that we're proposing in the Springfield area. And I'll pass it off to Jack for an introduction.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks again for having us. And my name is Jack Winram. I was just appointed Chief Development Officer with CO Silica. I'm just starting this week, and so excited to be part of the team. I moved over from a advocacy industry association called the Manitoba Environmental Industry Association. So glad to be here.
Oh, wonderful. And Jeff, you're new. You're a new face. I don't know that face. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Jeff Reed. I'm the geologist with CO Silica on the project here. Prior to joining CO, I actually led the industry development team with the province, the Mineral Petroleum Geoscience Group, and joined CO about a year ago. The project was such an interesting one to me. They drew me over, and I'm super happy to be here.
Well, wonderful. We're happy to have you. So I'm going to just go straight into the 7-minute introductory video. Do any of you want to give a little 2-second introduction into the video, or do you just want me to play it?
I'll just do a little bit of an introduction. When I came on board with CO, which is almost 2 years now, one of the first things that we wanted to strategize was correcting misinformation and providing accurate information. And so every time we started a meeting, we would play the video, which allows for some questions to be answered, and then good conversation that would follow the videos. So it's 7 minutes of information. So I hope everybody enjoys it today.
Wonderful. We'll get right to it here. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Isn't that guy from New York always says that? That always bothers me. All right. So now we're going to go to here. Here it is. Oops. And here we go.
Welcome to this informative video about CO Silica's Simba project. CO's high-purity quartz sand extraction is really no different than a traditional water well. The technology hasn't changed for over 100 years and is the same process used to clean existing water wells. Our well sites are temporary, closely monitored, and return to their pristine natural state, making the entire process sustainable and environmentally responsible. Located in Manitoba, our project site is just outside the city of Winnipeg. This location is home to the Carmen Sand Deposit, rich in high-purity quartz sand. CO Silica conducted a thorough hydrogeological study using 10,879 existing water wells. Our proposed operations water use is less than 1% compared to the top 10 water users in the region. This amount is less water than a typical golf course uses on a yearly basis. Our mineral claims extend over the Carmen deposit, allowing our proposed operations to be spread out geographically and over time. Compared to the claims identified in yellow, our 25-year project area is relatively small. The activity in this region will be staggered and spaced out as described later in this video. The process begins with a small drilling truck used for drilling water wells, positioning itself over a proposed location. With traditional water wells, a hole is drilled into the sandstone aquifer and a casing is left in place. The casing is then fitted with a sand screen to keep sand from freely traveling up the well. When a water well needs to be cleaned, an air pipe is lowered, creating bubbles that agitate and lift the blocking sand to the surface. This common process has been used countless times in the area and remains unchanged due to how effective and environmentally sound it is. CO Silica's process is exactly the same as cleaning a well, but uses a second extraction tube without a sand screen. The extraction pipe is also allowed to be lowered and raised, allowing for the extraction of sand. The air pipe is lowered into the extraction tube and stays within the extraction pipe. Just as before, the air creates a lifting effect, raising water and sand to the surface. The extracted water is then filtered and treated with UV light, making it cleaner than when it was extracted. This cleaned water is then returned back into the formation through the original casing. Gravity is all that's needed to replenish the extracted water. The extraction tube is gradually lowered into the sand deposit, extracting sand and water and creating a room in the formation. The room becomes cylindrical in shape, and its size is closely monitored. A typical room size is approximately 18 meters in diameter and 6 meters in depth. Compare this to the engineered maximum allowable room size of 25 to 40 meters. It's easy to see that our typical room size is well within this engineered safety threshold. When a new room is to be created in the vicinity of an existing one, it is kept to a minimum spacing of 60 meters. This helps maintain the integrity of the deposit and leaves an undisturbed zone between the rooms. This zone is called the pillar and is the foundation of room and pillar mining, a successful mining practice used in Canada and around the world. Much like a bridge is supported by columns, the pillars support the limestone above. This essentially turns the limestone into a beam-like structure, supporting the rooms below. The engineered room and pillar design utilized by CO has a designed engineered safety factor greater than 2. This is significant as water dam failures that are deemed catastrophic to life and elevated above residential property are only designed to a safety factor of 1. Both graphics of the Carmen sand deposit on either side of the line are shown at 100% of their size. Watch the graphic on the right as it is scaled down to 99%. The yellow edge represents the less than 1% of the sand that CO will extract over 25 years. CO uses no chemicals, nor does it use open pit mining. In fact, CO has independently contracted ACON to actively test the sustainable extraction process since 2019, monitoring both water quality and subsidence, and there has been no changes observed in either to the present day. When the sand and water reach the surface, the air is vented to atmosphere, and the water is separated from the sand with an on-site dewatering station. The water is then passed through a filtering and UV treatment system, making the water cleaner than it was at extraction. This water is then returned to the well to replenish the water extracted. All free water is returned to the aquifer. The sand is the only product removed from the project site and is placed into a separate water loop that circulates between the project site and facility. This water transport loop is self-contained and efficiently moves the sand to the facility where it is eventually stockpiled. All well sites are fully reclaimed and left in pristine condition upon completion. These reclaimed images were all taken 1 year after project site completion. A joint environmental oversight committee will be established, consisting of members from both the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation and CO Silica, ensuring all decisions are carried out with reverence and the consideration of future generations. High-purity quartz sand is necessary for many green and sustainable technologies. Most common applications are electronics, solar panels, medical glass, specialized coatings, advanced processing equipment, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. Our high-purity quartz sand is needed for all of these global industries, making it the most environmental high-purity quartz sand for green technology. Thank you for watching this video, and let us work together to put Manitoba on the world stage.
Well, that answers a whole bunch of the questions that I was going to ask tonight. So that means we can kind of move past that. Jeff, is there anything there that in your experience, folks watching the video, you might want to expand on, or you just want to touch on to explain to folks?
Oh, there's always, all sorts of questions that come up about the project. The most notable one to me is, I've worked in natural resources, my entire career, almost 20 years now. The reason I joined the company is because this is, it's by far the cleanest resource project I've ever worked on. We don't use a single chemical in the process. We literally extract sand and water, and then we put the water back. The safety factor that they mentioned in the video there, it's relevant, and a lot of people don't necessarily know what a safety factor of 1 is or a safety factor of 2 is. But I would encourage anyone to take a look at that, because it really does show how safe and stable this project is. And I'd be happy to talk about all the different levels of safety that we've considered, both on the surface and the subsurface, for this project.
Okay. This is probably for Carla and Jack. What stage, let me back up a little bit. Up till now, what have you guys done on the site in order to prove the technology, or assure yourselves that this is going to work the way you want it to work?
Yeah, so I'll start that conversation. To date, we've drilled approximately 75 wells, and Jeff, you can verify that for me. Is it 75?
Yeah.
Yes. And we've extracted around 10,000 tons of silica out of those wells. And we did baseline testing prior to extraction. And so we're doing constant monitoring of the aquifer and of the ground movement. And so for the past 5 years, for sure, we have data that shows that there's no adverse effect to the extraction process. And so I'm going to let Jack move into the water quality a little bit, because we've implemented a Manitoba company. And so I'm going to let him take that. And then after, Ken, if you don't mind, I'd like to go into the purity and the economics of the project. So, but I'll let these guys talk about the extraction process first.
Absolutely.
If you want, Jack,
Sure.
before you get going on the water quality, I could speak to the technology a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, so just to kind of discuss our confidence in the technology that we're going to be using. You kind of saw in the video there that we're kind of leveraging an existing tool that's been used for a long time, throughout Canada, and specifically throughout this area in Manitoba. But kind of specifically with this stuff, as Carla said, we've done tests, pulling up material from the subsurface using this method. And kind of while we're doing this, we are implementing an absolutely kind of rigorous monitoring process, right, to ensure that not only the technology was doing kind of exactly what we thought it would, but also kind of doing our own due diligence in terms of confirming that the carbonate, that beam layer that sits over top is kind of safely remaining in place. A thorough understanding of what those rooms look like in the subsurface, and that they behave the way that we anticipated that they do. And kind of throughout this whole testing process, we really did refine our methodology and our method to get this project done. And everything was done exactly as planned. There weren't any issues associated with it, and so it really gave us a lot of confidence that once we do get this license from the province, that we're really going to be able to implement this project in an incredibly safe manner, and provide those benefits to Manitobans, which I really think that we need here in this province. Sorry,
Well,
go ahead there, Jack.
Just before you go
Yeah.
off of that though, you had mentioned that you had drilled 75 wells. Have you actually extracted and created the chamber at the size that the operational facility is at and tested that to that size, or did you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah. So the all the 75 wells, a lot of those were kind of exploratory wells, right? So kind of as you're determining the size and scope of the resource you have in the subsurface, a lot of those are just kind of they're just test holes essentially. And then yeah, so during the extraction process, we created the rooms as expected. And what we actually used is we put down what's called a sonar tool. I'm sure kind of anyone can imagine what that looks like. It creates kind of a ping effect, and what it does is it actually creates almost a model of what that room is going to look like. And so yeah, we were able to kind of recreate those rooms, have an understanding of how that sand behaves in the subsurface, and that it they're created safely, and that everything the beams over top, the carbonate over top sits nicely without any unanticipated movement.
Okay. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, and in full transparency, I should say that I actually live in the area, about a 12-minute drive from the site here. I live just south of Beausejour, between Beausejour and Vivian. And I've been watching this project since 2019. It's and albeit with some apprehension, I understand some of the fears in the area from residents who drink from the aquifer. Now, let me be clear that there's actually two aquifers. The aquifers that most of us, or the aquifer that most of us are on, is the Red River carbonate aquifer that is above this aquifer. There's actually not that many people who are attached to the sand aquifer, but nonetheless, there is an impact on both aquifers. But also coming from the Environmental Industry Association that represents the scientists and engineers that provide the environmental assessments and the environmental monitoring and the environmental practitioners' expertise on various natural resource projects all over Canada. We are saying, from our Prime Minister to our Premier to First Nation, Indigenous communities, that critical minerals is a huge part of Manitoba's advantage. And this is a critical mineral. It's called Silicon Valley for a reason, because the main component that is built, all big tech is built on, is silicon. In fact, we're enjoying this video conference right now with all the hardware built from high purity silica, the fiber optics, the laptops, the phones, and we're not stopping. We're using it. And so in the interest of sovereignty and in the interest of putting our best foot forward on environmental footprint, so we're not actually reliant on other countries and other geographical regions that maybe don't have standards as high, it was important for me to jump in on this project, and that was my attraction, because I do feel that the project has unfairly been labeled as unenvironmental, and it's just not true relative to the natural resource development in the country. So the water quality in the aquifer has had extensive analysis and assessment, and we're going to be planning a risk management plan going forward. The technical term for that is the trigger action plan, and so that's going to be part of the proposal that is before the review of the government right now. And so there's a lot of redundancy and safety factor built into this, and so I'm confident that CO Silica is doing the right things. And I think where we need to do better is entering forums like this, where we can explain what this project is really all about and the importance of it for our sovereignty, and to tap into those critical minerals for economic development.
Well, I appreciate that. And
Yeah, well, sorry, just one thing Carla wanted to remind me. Again, being part of the association, I'm aware of a lot of members that work in water quality. And one of the companies that we were able to introduce CO Silica to was a company in Pinawa called Aquatic Life. And they are experts and also manufacturing some of the state-of-the-art environmental monitoring equipment. And we're going to be working with them quite closely to set up a monitoring system for a baseline of the quality of the water in the region, as well as to monitor through the operation and lifetime of the mine.
Now, I don't know why I'm getting that feedback. There we go. Oh, maybe not. You know what I can't see anybody else is gonna microphone on, but I know that you guys have announced in the last month or so some kind of an arrangement with the University of Manitoba. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Take that.
Let's take it. Jeff, are you more familiar technically? I mean, I can talk to the partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's we're working with the engineering department at the University of Manitoba, specifically Dr. Ricardo Mantilla. And so it's a really interesting project where he's actually developing a new technology. It's a non-invasive technology, using advanced physics to actually monitor. It uses water densities to monitor aquifer water movement. And so the applications, not only to our project, but to the community in general, and also just subsurface hydrological understandings is significant here. So I'm sure Carla will speak to this as well. But we're super excited to not only be kind of part of developing this new technology, but also the application that it could potentially have for our project, just to increase that public confidence in what we're doing, right? Ricardo's incredibly excited, I think, to get this going and to release all sorts of new information. So it's a fun project for us to be a part of.
Go ahead, Carla.
So it's used in other parts of the world where water is of grave concern. And in Manitoba, we're not monitoring our aquifers consistently, or maybe properly, I would say. And so we're not just implementing this for our project, we're implementing the system for monitoring of all the aquifers in Manitoba. And CO is committed to build out a hydrology department within the University of Manitoba, which is going to afford PhD students the research that they need to further their careers. And we're also going to collaborate with First Nations so that it's not just engineering, it's also understanding First Nations perspective of water and ground movement and how nature works well with engineering and how they can collaborate to ensure that we're protecting at the same time as advancing. And so that's one of our programs with the university. And we had another announcement, unfortunately, wasn't picked up by media, which it's groundbreaking research in batteries. So I don't know who wants to give the technical aspect of that, if Jack, you want to, or if Jeff, you want to take that one.
This one is with it's the chemistry department, and I'm no super battery expert, but it's using new materials for anodes. It's essentially applying silica as a battery anode. I'm not the best to speak to it, but it's quite an exciting battery development in terms of its potential application. It has impacts on battery life. And chargeability and so on, right? So, the research needs to continue on it, but it's a super exciting advancement. And should it come to fruition, Manitoba could be, the center of the development of new battery materials and new battery technology, which I think is pretty exciting.
I do want to get into talking about the economic impact, but we've spent a fair bit of time talking about what's going on below the ground. And I'd just like some kind of an idea of what the operations are going to be above the ground. Like, for instance, are we talking about the sand being placed into silos, or is it ground storage? Is there going to be a lot of traffic involved? I know there have been some concerns voiced by public about dust, those kinds of things. Can you give me some kind of an idea of what the above ground operations are going to look like?
So I'll start that and then I'll hand it off to Jack. So we will be operating for 8 months out of the year because we won't be drilling through the winter months. The site will have, let's just say if we had 4 drilling trucks on site, we would have, probably a crew of maybe 20 people being at the site, throughout the day. So they would drive their vehicles to the site, park, and then they would get into the the rigs, and they would work, and then you'd have your safety crew, and you've had, you know, everybody else, your supervisors, there'd be a trailer there. It's not your typical mine site, right? So we're not having, we're not having like food stations, we're not having camps. This is somewhere that they go to work every day and they go home from. We're close enough to community. So for noise, you know, we're not impactful with noise at all. And then for traffic, like I say, you know, on average, maybe 20 people daily. So we don't have a lot of impact on traffic. And then for the silica dust, which I saw a couple of questions pop up, it's a closed loop system that goes to the facility where it is then dried and bagged and tagged and put on rail immediately and then shipped out. So we have no exposure to air with silica dust. So there is no threat of silica dust with the process when we're extracting, and when it's going to the facility, it's in a closed loop system.
Okay.
Do you want to add to that?
No, I think that just about covers it. It's, I think the thing that to keep in mind that relative to what you would typically think of as a conventional mine, where it's a giant open pit or a conventional head frame with underground shafts, that's not what this is at all. It would be a module operation that would move from site to site. And there will be a building on the property that we have that will process the sand for shipping out.
I
I can
appreciate.
also,
And that building is about 15,000 square feet, so it's not very large either.
Okay. Jeff, go ahead. You were gonna.
yeah, I was just going to add that, you know, kind of to speak to what Carla and Jack had mentioned there, you know, each well is only in production for about 2 weeks. So as Jack really, I think appropriately mentioned, you know, this project doesn't create a scar on the surface like your conventional mine would. You know, each well produces for about 2 weeks, and we're really mobile. We'll move to the next one. But as soon as we move to the next one, reclamation on the first well begins. So we're drilling and producing while we reclaim. So we're reclaiming as we kind of move along here. So it really is a fluid operation.
Right, right. So you're bringing up a slurry essentially, and then that slurry is being pumped into something. Is it going into a truck and then taken to the facility for drying and stuff, or is it?
Yeah. So when Carla mentions a closed loop system or a slurry line, you know, it really is kind of it's a slurry of sand and water that kind of moves around the property until it gets to the processing facility there. And once again, as she mentioned, you know, it's never exposed to the air. You know, it's never sitting outside. So it kind of remains in this kind of perfectly closed loop system that mitigates not only air exposure but water use as well.
Okay, I want to jump to economics. What economic benefits could Manitobans expect for this project, particularly in terms of jobs and investment for our own people?
Sure. So just before I get there, I wanted to address the video. I see that the video was not updated and Broken Head was not removed from the video. It was a video that was created when we were in conversations with partnerships with Broken Head, but we are now in those conversations with Long Plains First Nation, and they are doing an environmental review of their own on the project, which should be finalized in the next week or so. And I hope that media will pick that up because, you know, we don't always get those good stories picked up.
Yeah, and that is unprecedented.
Yeah.
It's unusual to have that, but I think this is part of the story for Silica and our willingness to go above and beyond and work with First Nations to do their own environmental review process in parallel to what the province is already doing.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge before we move on, there's lots of questions in the comment section. Guys, put your questions in the comment section because we're almost out of time, and I will forward them to them later on offline. But we're just about running out of time. But I do want to talk about economics.
Okay, so this is my favorite part. So CO is a bit of an untold story because it's been hijacked over the years with a lot of misinformation. And so the resource itself comes out of the ground at a 99.86. And with a simple magnetic water wash, we can bring it to a 99.9. And that allows us to start entering the advanced manufacturing industry. And through research and development, introducing a chemical, we've been able to bring it to a 5N product. So that's a 99.999. And when you get to the 99.999, you know that you can start moving through beneficiation, furthering that, and then you can start hitting all of those great advanced manufacturing opportunities. And so one of our partners is RCT Solutions. They are a German-based solar panel manufacturing organization that wants to come to Manitoba. They want to build a plant that would employ 8,000 people directly. 3,000 of those jobs will be engineers. 1,200 jobs will be allocated to First Nation members. And what Dr. Peter Fath does is that he creates a university within a university, and he trains people as the facility is being built out. So then they go into the facility with a diploma, and they're qualified to work in his plant. And so that plant would be the largest supplier of solar panels to North and South America. And so what that does too, it's job creation. It's a $3 billion capital investment into our province, but it also allows for us to correct the solar panel industry in Manitoba and make it more affordable for families to be able to start getting themselves onto solar when it's in our backyard. Apart from that, CO Silica is committed to build out 10 to 12 different advanced manufacturing plants. And that starts with, RCT solution. We go into the silicon metal. So we're able to create the wafers for the solar panels. We can go into a powder form, which is used in fillers for all kinds of things. And we also want to build a beneficiation center. And I want to explain that because it's kind of key and critical to what's going on in the world today. So if we took the silica out of the ground, we would have to ship it to Norway to be beneficiated. And what I mean beneficiated is bringing it to that higher purity of a 5N plus and beyond. And then it would come back to North America through China, Malaysia, and come back into North America. And then into the advanced manufacturing. We want to alleviate that shipping and also the threat of our critical minerals being confiscated one day by anybody in the world. And if we built it in Manitoba, we would then control critical minerals, which is key because we enter the national defense sector. So our silica can be used in national defense. And when we're talking and looking at what's happening in the world today, it's important that we're protecting our sovereignty. And that is what CO Silicon can do for Canada. We can protect our sovereignty. So when we're talking to the federal government, although we don't need federal approval, it's a provincial approval. We check all the 5 boxes of a national interest project. And so we are that key component of protecting Canada now and into the future. And we also have the ability to ship through the AGG, so the Churchill Port or the Nelson River Port. And that's then sharing, our resources with Europe. They desperately need the resource as well. There is a global shortage looming in regards to this resource, so high purity quartz silica, especially because of AI coming on board. The main ingredient to AI is fiber optics. The main ingredient to fiber optics is high purity quartz silica. So that global shortage that was predicted to be like around 2032 is now going to be a lot shorter a lot closer because of everything that's happening with data centers and AI. And so when those shortages hit, this resource will come out of the ground because the whole world is coming for it. We have 15 billion tons of it. It's a 500-year mine life. It is generational wealth created for Manitobans in advanced manufacturing and mining. It's environmentally friendly. So we are on the map in the world. We're talked about in magazines around the world that we are environmentally friendly. What CO Silicon needs is politics to remove themselves from proponents having opportunities in Manitoba. And then you can see us starting to advance. And so when we're talking about economics, we're talking about in the first couple of years, we're talking about 8,000 plus jobs, direct jobs, and about 17,000 plus indirect jobs. Move that further to 4 years ahead of approval, you're looking at about 25,000 indirect jobs, and then we're up to probably about 12,000 jobs. So it has a massive impact on our economy. And it's the way of the future. So if we are not taking this resource and having the value added to Manitoba today, we will eventually be the mine. We will ship it out of here, and other states, not provinces, not Canada, will benefit from the resource in advanced manufacturing because they're all moving out of China. We know what's happening in Europe with cost of, electricity. So they're moving their plants closer. And if they're not, if Manitoba is not signaling to the world that we're open for business, they're going to go on the other side of the border, and we're eventually just going to ship it out. And that's what's the most frustrating from the business perspective of CO. Is I've lived in Manitoba my whole life, and I want to see Manitoba be successful. I have 4 children. I've already lost one to Alberta. I want to bring my son home. I want others to be able to stay home, right? Because a lot of kids today, my kids are all, in their 20s. It's you get your degree and you get your diploma and away you go, and you got your suitcase in hand. And so we need to have those jobs created here. And CO Silica brings that to Manitoba. We offer that, and we can create that. And we also are collaborating with First Nations. We want First Nations to have 51% ownerships in these businesses. We want to have we want to provide them with the ability to create wealth for their nations. We want to help them with solar to get, to be able to be off the grid. These are really important items for us, especially knowing that we have issues with our power in Manitoba. So there's lots of things that CO Silica brings to Manitoba from an economic perspective. I could probably sit here and talk forever about it. But first and foremost, it puts us on a global map. It says that Manitoba can supply to the world, and Manitoba can help the world. And I think that's a great story, and it's the untold story that's been hidden, and kind of blanketed from a lot of misinformation. And so like I said, we're very grateful to be here today, sharing this information with you. We will take all your questions. We will email you back your answers. We're willing to have meetings. We're willing to sit down with community. We are here to provide solutions, answers, and let you know the truth. And into the future, we'll have committees. We want to have community input. We want to hear your concerns. We want to address them. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think
The one thing I will
Mm-hmm.
also add in, and I'm reading a lot of the kind of the dialogue that's popping up here, is talking about independent water monitoring and independent testing. And one thing Jack mentioned earlier, the company Aquatic Life that we're currently working with. As of right now, we've got 2 of our wells that were drilled in the last few years. We've got Aquatic Life water monitoring tools downhole in the aquifer currently reading. And the very unique thing about Aquatic Life is that they broadcast the results or the water monitoring data live. So absolutely anybody in Manitoba, around the world, in the Springfield community, anyone that wants to see the status of the water currently on our property, they can log in and watch the tools. And we're going to continue that. We're hoping to expand it into the future. But once again, this is just, I think another source of transparency that we're really trying to get out there. We want people to see this and see that, there's nothing to hide here. We really believe in our process. We really believe that it's incredibly safe. Please go take a look at it for yourself.
Where do they get that link in order to log into that, Jeff?
Yeah, so it's through the Aquatic Life. Off the top of my head, I'm not familiar with an exact web page, but I can get it to you and you can post it up or
Be
whatever it
happy to
looks
do
like
that.
there.
Yep. Now, where are you guys at? Like, my next question was going to be about community engagement, and Carla, you answered that already. But where are you in the regulatory process? Like, what are you waiting for or not waiting for in the process of to try to obtain to move forward?
Currently, we're waiting for the comments and the TAC comments.
The technical.
Technical
Yeah.
review.
And once we get those, we have a period of time to answer. And then after it goes back to the EAB, I believe then we'll be waiting for an approval.
Yeah, so this process was started back in August with the submission, and we were put on the registry. And then once it was on the registry, the public was allowed to uh, provide their comments for a period of time. I think it was 60 days or 30 days.
Yeah, I can't
And
remember the
then
exact amount of
and then there
days.
was a public forum that CO hosted as well. And so right now the province is reviewing all of those responses. By the very nature of this, they got quite a few responses. So they're working through that right now. And our understanding is that they've also worked through the technical review, and the company will be getting a response to that shortly.
Yeah, so the province, they distribute our application essentially to all of their specialists internally, right? So their biologists, their hydrologists, their engineers all review our application, and the technical advisory committee comes back to us with any questions that they may have. We'll get the opportunity to work with them to walk through any of those questions, provide any answers, and then we move forward from there.
Okay, I
And
appreciate.
this is a very unique process too, Ken, in that that the company has provided a very cautionary, staged and phased approach with a 5-year window to start off slowly and gather the data. The engineers and the scientists have done a lot of work on the study, but we want real world data. And so for the next couple of years, within a 5-year window, we're going to collect more data and then submit that again in full transparency to the province and the public.
Okay, we've gone 10 minutes over our 60-minute window, and we're pretty anal about this. But I'll give you guys, any one of you, an opportunity. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to make, or something you may have forgotten that you want to get out to our members?
Yeah, I'll just mention that the reality of our modern day life is that we need critical minerals, and when you have a mine, you disrupt the ground, and when you dig a hole in the ground, you're going to impact water. So then it becomes, how do we manage that with our best foot forward to protect the environment? I do believe that here in Manitoba, we have some of the best people to make sure that we are managing that forward. That's relative to other places in the world, which I commented on earlier. So, it's a fact. I just happen to be living in all my life in communities that are mining. I grew up in Thompson. There's a giant open pit and a big head frame. I live near Beausejour, where there's a big silica sand open pit that was where a glass factory existed earlier in the century. And so the reality is that when you dig a hole in the ground, you are impacting water. The thing that's important is, how do we manage that to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward? And I'll say that what has intrigued me about CO is, as political leaders say and policymakers say, and as the association that I used to work for say, we want the mining sector to be innovative and creative to make sure that we're using the best technology to improve our environmental footprint. And CO has come up with a way here, using an old technology to extract this sand that isn't a big open pit and that it isn't creating big cavernous holes like a head frame in a hard rock mine. And so I think that we need to recognize that is it's a novel way and approach to look at the extraction of this sand, at the same time reduce and minimize its footprint as much as possible.
Well, wonderful. I appreciate you guys coming on tonight and giving our membership information. I know they were all everybody was charged up for questions and answers, but unfortunately I kind of let things go on a little too long. But they're going to submit, anybody who has questions, submit them to me by email and I'll pass them on. Also remember in your email, if you want me not to share your email with these folks, let me know and I'll just send it on under my email. But if you're okay with me sending your email direct, that's fine too. We will do that. But again, thank you very much for coming on tonight and giving us the information. I think it's important that our members get to one-on-one hear the story from both sides so they can make an informed consent. I think informed consent has suffered in all sectors in this country and probably in the world as of late. But so we're trying to give everybody as much information as we can. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this with us.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much for having
One
us.
thing. I just want to add one thing, Ken, if I could. I
Sure.
just want to say that the application that we applied for is 25 wells in the first year. We've already drilled 75. We're only asking for 100,000 tons of sand in the first year. In year 3, we'll move up to 300,000. Year 5, we'll move up to 500,000. So we've done it in a stage approach so that we can grow that confidence in community and in Manitoba in general. So we are listening and we're trying our best to be transparent and create confidence. And I do believe that we will see this be successful and Manitoba will prosper for the project.
All right. Again, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. And we're just going to go to our close up here. We have believe it or not, we're all going to school after this. So
Okay, well, have fun.
all right. Good night.
We're going to the Jets game.
Oh my goodness. All right. Where am I?
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for
Thanks so
coming.
much.
Okay, everybody.
everyone.
Bye, Rosalie.
See ya.
That's
Bye.
that's a wrap on the on what we're doing tonight. Again, there were a lot of questions in the Q&A. I saw that. I'm not trying to ignore that. If you can send me emails with your question, I will forward them out and I'll actually post the answers in a blog post. And again, if you don't want your email shared with these folks, tell me in the email to me and I'll just send the question without your name on it. And again, I'll do a blog post and I'll put all the questions and answers in there.
I just want to also say something that I copy and pasted all the comments and I have kept them, but I think it's a good idea, like Ken says, to send him a separate email with all the questions because they're all very important.
Yeah, and again, I'll protect your emails from them if that's what you wish. If you want me to send your email so that you have direct response, that's fine as well. Next week, again, I have been trying to get the community group who opposes this on. I want to give them everybody. I want you to see both sides of this from both sides so you can make an informed decision. And I'm not giving up on that. I'm going to keep trying this week. I actually think that 1 or 2 of those people were on the call tonight and doing questions. And if you are, please get a hold of me. And on my emails on our website, contact at the very bottom, it says contact us or contact something like that. Get a hold of me. If you want to pre-record something, that's fine as well. And then we'll give you a session next week so that you can talk about what you heard and what your concerns are. So
we're all about open, honest transparency.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, I'm going to wrap up this part of the meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We look forward to seeing you next week.